Welcome back. It's Miss Toni, and I'm excited to share my week 10 updates of my pregnancy journey. So this was a very exciting week because my OB doesn't allow appointments prior to 10 weeks. There's obviously a high chance of miscarriage in the first trimester, especially within those first 8 to 9 weeks. So they just have a policy at their office where you can call when as soon as you miss your period, but you can't get an appointment until about 10 weeks. So I have been counting down, waiting for this moment. I finally had that moment. My husband and I went together. It was truly special because I finally got to hear the baby's heartbeat, and it was a fast heartbeat. I was so excited. I was very reassured and just at peace when I heard that heartbeat. And I also got my sonogram. So here is the little one. Beautiful little bean, tiny as ever, about the size of a prune. My doctor said it's about an inch, little over an inch, inch and a half in size. And I say it's a pronoun that I am deciding to use this pregnancy. I knew my firstborn was a girl. I actually thought I was sure that my second was a boy, and it was a girl. And I found out with my first Kennedy when she was only 9 weeks. I took the NIPT test, the non-invasive prenatal test, and found out very early. With Cameron, I actually had my gender reveal in my hometown, and so I had to wait to book the flights and everything and coordinate with my family. So we actually waited until Cameron was about 7 months in my belly before we found out the gender. So I figured if we waited that long the last time, and we waited no time the first time, that we could maybe try to wait until we actually deliver to find out the gender of baby K number 3. So I told my husband. Kelvin was kind of like, I don't know, but he loves to go with the flow, and he'll do pretty much anything I ask him to do. And so he is willing to go the whole 40 weeks until we find out the gender of this baby. So we're very excited. We did decide to do the testing again, the NIPT testing. And so we are making sure that we get the results without the gender. So we had to select that on the application and the form when we registered. And so they're not going to report the results to us this time. The appointment went great. It was time for my PAP. And so I had my PAP. I had my pelvic exam. I had my breast exam, which was very thorough. As you get older, you got to make sure, you're doing these really relevant preventative tests and procedures when you go into your OB's office, and just as a woman in general. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any of those tests, despite almost missing my PAP this year due to COVID. One of the things that's important at the 10-week checkup is really just to keep your doctor abreast of everything, any changes that you've endured, any symptoms that you're having. And if you've been pregnant before, anything that you may have noticed that may be different this time or just more the same. And so my doctor asked a lot of questions about how I'm feeling. Even with the paperwork, there's a lot of questions about your mental health, which I think is so important, that they're not just focusing on your physical health, you and the baby, but they're also making sure that you're mentally in check as well. And I just really appreciate that they do that. So I let my doctor know about just the traditional symptoms that I've been having, the little bit of constipation, a little bit of nausea and gagging, no vomiting, thankfully, none at all. And so I shared that with her. And just things about as far as discharge, what that looks like and how often that takes place. And then just some practical questions about prenatal vitamins. I use one brand with Kennedy and switched to a different brand with Cameron. And I decided to stick with that second brand with the third baby. So I just made sure that there had been no changes with that product. And so I ran that past my doctor, and she okayed it. It has DHA, which is very important for eye and brain development for the baby. And so I made sure that that was included in the prenatal vitamin, and my doctor okayed the prenatals. Another thing that was important was discussing, now that I'm 40, what are some risks? Are there any risks that I should be aware of that perhaps I wasn't a risk for with the first two? And really, I got pregnant with Kennedy when I was 30 34 or 35. And so I was already considered AMA, which is advanced medical age, which sounds so bad. And when you see it on your chart, you're like, what? AMA? Y'all calling me old? And I was only 34, 35 at the time. In fact, I'm looking at the paperwork now, and not only does it say AMA, but it says elderly multigravida. Elderly? Shame. They gonna shame you. So my doctor said, you still are at that point. You're still at AMA, so we're treating you the same way we did with the first 2 babies. You're gonna see me between now and the delivery. She's gonna be the one to deliver my baby again. But I also have to see a high-risk doctor. And the high-risk doctor is a perinatalogist. I actually went to him with the first 2 pregnancies, and he's amazing. And they know what they're doing. And so I will be seeing him again beginning in the next couple weeks. And then I go back to see my OB in 4 weeks. So just in that time frame, I'll be continuing to update you all on my belly once I actually get one, on all of the different symptoms that I may be experiencing. Currently, I do have a couple food aversions, and it's not really food, it's just smells that really have been bothering me. If I smell gas, so we have a gas stove, and when you first turn it on, sometimes it takes a couple clicks before the fire actually starts. I cannot be in the room. Like, I will gag, I will choke when that first happens. So that's one, is just gas, which I think that one actually hit me with my first pregnancy too. And then the food, I'm still in love with fruit. I have to have fruit every day. Mango has been my absolute favorite, which is, I had to push strawberries aside, and actually now I'm really in love with mango. So those are kind of my cravings at the moment. And we're getting closer to telling our family, which I cannot wait. We want to wait until we're 12 weeks. That's what we typically do. 11, 12 weeks is the time frame we've told our parents and our siblings for the first 2 babies. So we are trying to decide if we're going to tell them on Christmas next week, or if we're going to wait closer to New Year's and surprise them with gifts, which is something I love to do with them. So we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.